Welcome to Vibe Talks. Today, we're plunging into the fascinating and, let's be honest, often kind of bewildering world of cryptocurrency. It's a $3 trillion industry. Just let that number sink in for a second. $3 trillion.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? You could stack dollar bills to the moon and back several times with that kind of money. And yet, well, so much of it is tied to something that feels like a real mystery to most people.
Exactly. And you've likely heard the buzz, Bitcoin's roller coaster rides, the whole blockchain revolution, maybe even the head-scratching stuff like Dogecoin.
Oh, yeah.
And you might still feel like you're missing the key to understanding it all.
Well, look, you're in good company. Our mission today is really to unpack the core engines driving this whole financial phenomenon.
Yeah, we're not going to try and turn you into a crypto guru overnight, but hopefully we can shed some light on why this digital realm commands such massive investment, such attention, even when so many of us are just scratching our heads trying to figure out what it all really means. And to do that, we're diving deep into Ben Ulanzi's really intriguing article, The $3 Trillion Industry That No One Understands. Okay, so Ulanzi kicks off by highlighting just how much the crypto conversation has, exploded. It wasn't always this way, right?
Not at all. What's truly remarkable is the speed of this change. I mean, think back a decade ago, crypto was barely a blip on the radar for most folks.
Right.
Now it's a regular headline. It's a topic that can, dominate discussions just as much as major global events sometimes. Bitcoin's price swings alone can trigger international news alerts.
Yeah.
And there's this constant stream of new digital currencies just popping up, each one kind of hoping to catch that same lightning in a bottle.
It's almost inescapable, isn't it? As Ulanzi points out, even if you couldn't really explain what a Bitcoin is, you probably heard someone mention it, or maybe stumbled across a meme about like a Shiba Inu going to the moon.
Yeah.
It's definitely gone mainstream. But here's the real hook, I think. For all this noise, genuine understanding seems incredibly rare.
That's the absolute central puzzle here. The author makes a really compelling case that very few individuals truly grasp the underlying mechanics of cryptocurrency. And even fewer can actually articulate it in a way that clicks with the average person. It's a fascinating disconnect.
It really is. It's kind of like living in a world powered by technologies we barely comprehend. Ulanzi touches on this, right? Mentioning things like the internet, smartphones, even, the abstract idea of quantum computing. We use them every day, but could most of us really explain their intricate workings? Probably not.
That's a great point. We often adopt technologies based on, their perceived usefulness, even if we don't fully get the how. But with cryptocurrency, it feels a bit different, doesn't it? There's this massive financial investment tied to something just so opaque.
Yeah.
Even a basic definition, the whole digital money secured by cryptography, operating without a central bank, on a shared ledger called a blockchain even, that can feel like you've just been handed a Rubik's Cube in the dark.
Rubik's Cube in the dark. I like that. Yeah, nebulous definitely captures it. But despite all this widespread head-scratching, the crypto train just keeps rolling. Now, one thing that struck me in the article was the comparison Ulanzi makes to traditional finance. I mean, it's not like Wall Street is crystal clear to everyone either, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. The stock market has its own labyrinth of jargon, complex instruments. It can feel intentionally bewildering sometimes, so that sensation of being an outsider trying to decode financial mysteries isn't entirely new.
Okay.
However, Ulanzi suggests, and I think it's a fair point, that cryptocurrency feels maybe more like an evolution of finance. It takes some familiar concepts, but twists them in pretty novel, sometimes confusing ways.
But with a definite flavor of the unexpected, right? There's this sort of Wild West vibe. You hear about these stories of lost fortunes because someone forgot a 30-digit passcode.
Right.
And then you have major events like the FTX collapse that really shine a light on the potential pitfalls.
Precisely. That FTX situation served as a pretty stark reminder of the vulnerabilities and the sometimes less established regulatory frameworks you find in parts of the crypto space. It really underscores that while there might be some superficial similarities to traditional finance, the landscape of risk and, frankly, accountability can be quite different.
And then we get to what Ulanzi brilliantly calls the nonsense currencies. I mean, reading the names, Putin coin, Shiba Inu, Whopper coin, you just can't make this stuff up. It's almost like performance art sometimes.
It's wild. And what's truly captivating is how low the barrier to entry seems to be. I feel like almost anyone can just conjure up a digital token and see if it catches on.
Yeah.
The author even mentions the Hawktua girl getting in on the action. It just highlights the speculative fever and the real power of internet culture in this whole space.
Yet somehow in the middle of all this chaos, you have major players, Starbucks, Burger King, Whole Foods, Microsoft, even PayPal starting to accept Bitcoin. That feels like a pretty significant step towards mainstream adoption, doesn't it?
It does.
Even with all the confusion and the meme coins swirling around, it's a real head scratcher. How can something be so widely embraced, or at least starting to be, and still feel so utterly foreign to so many people?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the $3 trillion question here. Ilanzi uses this fantastic analogy describing the whole cryptocurrency trade as a kind of horse race in which most spectators are effectively blindfolded. You're placing bets, but you don't really know what you're betting on, fundamentally.
That image really sticks with you because you hear about all these different cryptocurrencies, Swap Zone, SafeMoon, Banana Coin, and you can't help but wonder, okay, what is the fundamental difference? What problem is each one supposedly solving?
And the honest answer for most people, even maybe some investors, is that the distinctions are completely opaque. The author talks about their experience diving into cryptocurrency Facebook groups, kind of hoping for some clarity.
Yeah. What did they find?
Well, instead of clarity, they found mostly a whirlwind of hype and what they describe as soulless finance obsession, kind of echoing some aspects of the stock market world, maybe, but with perhaps even less grounded analysis.
So it sounds like a lot of the investment is just driven by pure speculation. FOMO, fear of missing out, catchy names, internet trends like Shiba to the moon.
Seems like it, yeah.
And when those bets go wrong, like with something called Dentacoin, apparently it's just crickets. Silence.
Exactly. Ulanzi makes this really astute point that even people who are deeply invested often struggle to articulate any meaningful difference between, say, Dogecoin and Shiba Inu.
Right.
It just underscores the feeling that much of the market is fueled by sentiment, by this sort of spontaneous gambler's urges, rather than any deep understanding of underlying value or utility.
Which leads us to a really, really thought-provoking idea that Ulanzi puts forward. Could it be that this widespread lack of comprehension isn't just a side effect, but is actually integral to the cryptocurrency institution's success?
It's a fascinating, almost paradoxical idea, isn't it? The argument being that the sheer allure of potential massive returns is just so powerful that people are willing to jump in, even if they don't really understand the mechanics. I mean, the fact that millions have invested without even a basic grasp of what blockchain technology actually is, that's quite astounding when you think about it. People are entrusting significant sums of money to something they can't really explain.
It's like trying to decipher the tiny print on some centuries-old treasure map, but the treasure might not even be real. Most of us wouldn't even know where to start reading it.
Okay.
So, looking ahead then, what does the future hold for this $3 trillion enigma?
Well, that's the trillion-dollar crystal ball question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, given how increasingly digital our lives are becoming, it's not totally unreasonable to envision a future where digital currencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum become more commonplace for everyday transactions. As the author notes, this is actually already happening in some corners of the world in certain contexts.
And I guess when you consider how quickly things like contactless payments and digital wallets became the norm,
Exactly.
it doesn't seem quite as far-fetched, maybe. But Ulanzi also flags the current influence of what he calls opportunistic capitalists, and crucially, the inevitable role that government regulation will likely play down the line.
Oh, those are absolutely critical variables. The current sort of explosion of meme coins and this intense speculative frenzy that might not be sustainable long-term. But the underlying technology, the fundamental concept of decentralized digital currency, that seems likely to have a lasting impact in some form or another.
So it might stick around, but look different.
It could very well evolve significantly from how it looks today, yeah. Shaped by both market forces and inevitably regulatory frameworks.
Okay. So after this deep dive into Ulanzi's article, it really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? And for you, our listener, what's the most surprising or maybe the most perplexing aspect of this whole cryptocurrency world that we've touched upon today?
It truly is a landscape just brimming with contradictions and so many unresolved questions about its fundamental nature and, I suppose, its long-term role in the global financial system.
Absolutely. So just to try and bring it all together, the key takeaway here seems to be that despite its frankly, staggering valuation and its ever-increasing visibility, cryptocurrency remains a largely misunderstood phenomenon for the vast majority of people.
Yeah, it's a deeply complex and still rapidly evolving space. And there's a huge spectrum of opinions out there on its intrinsic value and its future trajectory.
And that leads us to our final thought for you today. Given the sheer scale of investment pouring into something that seems so poorly understood, what does that tell us about human nature? About our relationship with rapidly advancing technology, and maybe the enduring allure of potential financial gain, even when it's shrouded in so much mystery. Is cryptocurrency a truly revolutionary force poised to reshape finance? Is it a massive speculative bubble just waiting to burst? Or is it perhaps something far more nuanced, something still unfolding? We really encourage you to consider what you make of this $3 trillion industry that, as Ben Ulanzi argues so compellingly, maybe no one truly understands. Keep listening, keep thinking.